Sweet Tooth is a 290-page graphic novel that was released September 8, 2015. Jeff Lemire wrote and did his own art, with Vertigo as a publishing company. Sweet Tooth, the Deluxe Edition Book 1, was a good read. It was about a plague that devastated people all over the world, taking life after life for years. Everyone will eventually die, except the human-animal hybrids that were a product of a mad scientist. These hybrids started being born at the same time as the plague started killing everyone. Act 1 starts on page 8 and goes to page 50. Act 2 starts on page 51 and goes to 119. And Act 3 goes from page 120 to 185. This does not follow the normal comic book page to act ratio, because normally the Act 1 and Act 3 will be considerably shorter than the Act 2, but in this one, Act 3 is just a little bit shorter than Act 2. This story is all about Gus and how he was tricked after his father died into breaking all of the rules his father had ever taught him. He was taught not to leave the house, not to leave the woods, never to talk to strangers, and yet he broke every single rule. As soon as his father died, he got lonely. Mr. Jeffers saved his life. People hunted hybrids like him because he was half deer, half human. And when he was about to be kidnapped, Mr. Jeffers came and shot them all and saved his life. This is when Act 2 started. Act 2 started when Gus, or Sweet Tooth as Mr. Jeffers likes to call him because he loves candy bars, decided that he trusts Mr. Jeffers. Gus ends up following Mr. Jeffers to a militia concentration camp where the scientists are studying hybrids. Most hybrids, though, aren't as smart as Gus. Most of them can't even talk. We learn all this in Act 3. We also learn, after Gus is hypnotized by the scientists of the militia camp, that Gus's father was actually a mad scientist, and he was writing a Bible that he said God told him to write as he was dying from the plague. For the most part, this novel was linear until Act 3, when they decided to put in all the flashbacks to explain why Mr. Jeffers took him to the militia camp, and it was all to get his wife's body back. The only thing Mr. Jeffers cares about and has ever cared about was his wife, Louise. Louise died at the militia camp, giving birth to their son, who was also a hybrid. Act 3 also has flashbacks that pertain to Gus, and they give more insight and background to where Gus came from and how he came to be and when he came to be. Gus's birthday is key and why he is so important and special to the story. In the end, Gus learned that his father was right about everything. He can't trust anybody, and he should have stayed in the cabin in the woods where he belongs. Gus was so lonely, though, that he was desperate to have somebody to trust. Mr. Jeffers' goal the whole time was to get Gus to the concentration camp so that he could get his wife's body back in exchange. All he wanted to do was to bury his wife at their home. McCloud's ideas of transition that go with this book are the scene to scene, because each scene progresses a story. There are multiple pages where multiple up-close scenes are used to show emotion of the passing time. It also uses subject-to-subject transition. An example is at the end on page 220, it explains how Gus describes each stage of his life while hypnotized by the scientist, with the subject going around his head in antlers. This is a non-traditional way to portray this type of conversation, but one that catches the eye and is still easy to understand what the creator intended. I think this graphic novel does use the pages in mini comic, because at the end of each page there's a cliffhanger that makes you want to turn the page and find out what's going to happen next. I think this was a perfect story for me to read, for me to read that goes with what's going on in the world right now. We have an epidemic that is killing lots of people. Not, of course, many as the plague would have, but it's still killing people. And those that don't die from this current virus get extremely sick. Nobody wants to be sick like that. You can't go to work, you can't do anything. I always try to stay optimistic, and this graphic novel helped me to do so in this time of isolation through the quarantine. I feel like that we are fortunate that so many people are recovering from this COVID-19. I also feel fortunate because we at least have internet and computers and tablets and game systems and things that they didn't have back then during the plague. There was nothing to do while you were quarantined. At least we can still work, for the most part, and stay connected through our internet. So like I always like to say, it could be worse. And I feel this graphic novel reminds me of that. I recommend this graphic novel to everyone. I thought it was an easy read. I had no problems figuring out what came next. I didn't get confused until the very, very end, the very last page type end. But that seems to be my take on all comic books. I like them all the way up until the very last page. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the graphic novel if you choose to read it.